Okay, close your eyes for a second. Picture a Maltese face. What do you see? Maybe, sun-bronzed skin, dark eyes, dark wavy hair, kind of a strong nose, shaped by the sea and sun, right? Now open your eyes. Imagine you're actually there, walking around Valletta, maybe Gozo, and you see someone totally different. Lighter skin, maybe? Lighter eyes, freckles even, maybe blondish hair. In the same small country, it seems, well, contradictory, doesn't it? It's pretty fascinating. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into for you today. You sent us a whole pile of sources, some serious science, historical accounts, all trying to answer this one question. Why do people in Malta look so, well, different? So, our job here is to walk you through all this stuff. We want to show you why this tiny island has such a surprising range of looks, and maybe what that tells us about identity and history.
Yeah, and what's really striking at Malta is just how small it is. We're talking 316 square kilometers. Tiny. But its history, immense. It's been this major crossroads in the Mediterranean for, well, forever. So we're going to connect those dots for you, the geography, the history, and the actual genetics to understand this visual tapestry you see today.
Okay, let's start with that location. Malta's position on the map. It's only about 80 kilometers south of Sicily, smack bang in the middle of the Med. And that's not just, trivia. It's really the heart of the story. Historians talk about this long, long list of groups who've been there. Settlers, invaders, colonists. You've got Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, Byzantines. Then the Arabs, specifically the Aghlabids, who were quite influential. Followed by Normans, the Knights of St. John. They were there for ages. The French, the British. Phew. And every single one of these groups, they didn't just leave behind buildings or words. They left their mark genetically, too. It's like history written onto people's features.
Exactly. And if we sort of connect that to the bigger picture, all that history, it's backed up by the science, by the genetics. There was a key study back in 2012, Population Genetics in Western Mediterranean Islands, Malta. A case study. Really good stuff. They looked at mitochondrial DNA, that's the mother's line, and the Y chromosome for the father's line, plus these things called autosomal STR markers, which give a broader picture of ancestry from both sides over generations. And what did they find? Well, significant gene flow. From Southern Europe, yes, but also North Africa. And all that is layered on top of even older genetic foundations from the Bronze Age and Neolithic times. So the takeaway for you, Malta's genetic map is super complex. It's Mediterranean, sure, but with definite Arab input and these deep ancient European roots. It really sets the stage for all this visual diversity we're talking about.
Wow, so the genes themselves tell the story of mixing, of convergence. It means the diversity you see isn't just skin deep, it's like woven into their very past, which really challenges that idea of one single Maltese look, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Because, even with all this complex genetic data we just heard about, lots of people still expect that typical look, right? Olive skin, dark hair, brown eyes.
The stereotype.
But the sources show it's just not that simple. And that's where it gets really interesting. There's even, local curiosity about it. A bit of banter, maybe? Apparently, people from Zurich sometimes joke they're more likely to have blue eyes than the rest of Malta.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Whether it's statistically true or not, it shows people notice these differences, even within the island.
Which makes you wonder, doesn't it? Beyond the biology, how do these physical differences actually, play into identity in Malta? What are people saying on the island about who looks properly Maltese?
That's a really crucial point. How much is identity tied up in appearance? And yeah, our sources suggest there are real conversations about this. Which features represent Malta? People might debate if lighter eyes are somehow less Maltese, or if darker skin tones get seen as an outsider trait sometimes.
Even if the family's been there for generations.
Exactly, even then. So these debates, they really show how much appearance matters for that sense of belonging, that sense of self for Maltese people.
Yeah, it's not just about how you look, it's about what that look means culturally.
Right. It really underlines that connection between our physical selves and our cultural narratives. Sometimes they don't quite line up. So, okay, let's get into the specifics then. What does the research actually tell us about Maltese physical traits? Starting with that genetic ancestry again. That Manchester PhD study from 2012 we mentioned. It found these things called haplogroups. Think of them like major ancient family branches.
Yeah, genetic lineages.
Right. In Malta, they show a really strong Mediterranean signature. Makes sense. But also significant North African genetic input. And interestingly, less Northern European input compared to nearby Sicily, for example.
That's a key distinction.
And the mtDNA studies the mother's line. They confirm lots of common Southern European haplogroups, like HUT, but also smaller amounts from North Africa and the Near East.
Minor, but definitely there. Significant.
So this genetic cocktail, this blend, it really helps explain that visual range you see, from classic Mediterranean to lighter or more mixed features.
Okay, so the roots are diverse. What about things we can actually, measure or see more easily, like height and build?
Yeah, even that tells a story. So on average, Maltese men are about 174 centimeters tall. That's roughly 5'8.5". Women average around 160 to 163 centimeters.
Okay.
But here's the interesting bit. Over the last century, Maltese men have gotten taller by about 10 to 11.4 centimeters. That's quite a jump.
Wow, yeah.
And women around 10 centimeters taller, too, over the same time.
What's driving that?
Mostly down to better nutrition, better health care, especially prenatal care.
Yeah.
It shows how global health trends can literally reshape a population in just, 100 years or so.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like evolution in fast forward almost.
Kind of. Although, even with that increase, Malta's average height is still a little below the average for Northern or Central Europe.
Right. Okay, so height's changed. What about the really visible stuff? Skin, hair, eyes. Now, finding detailed large-scale surveys on just these traits is surprisingly tricky.
Hmm.
But based on what we have, traditionally you'd expect olive, or light olive skin, tans well in that strong sun. But fair skin isn't uncommon either. You might see it more in coastal areas or higher elevations, maybe. Hair-wise, dark brown is definitely the most common, often thick, often wavy or curly.
Yeah, you see a lot of that.
But you'll see lighter browns too. And sometimes blonde highlights could be mixed ancestry, could just be the sun bleaching it.
Yeah.
And eyes. Brown is dominant for sure. But remember that Zurich anecdote. It suggests there might be pockets with more blue eyes.
Right, local variations.
So yeah, things like almond-shaped brown eyes, olive skin, maybe a strong nose, people might call that typical Maltese. But the key word really is variation.
And what about facial structure? Does the island setting play a role there?
Absolutely. Think about it. Small island, periods of being quite isolated, then suddenly waves of new people coming in. That shapes things. You might see a bit more uniformity in features within some older, maybe rural families. That's the small island effect. Certain traits can become more common just through isolation.
I see, like a founder effect almost.
Sort of, yeah. But then contrast that with people who have more recent mixed ancestry. Sicilian, North African, British, whoever, you'll likely see more diversity there. And while we don't have tons of published measurements of Maltese faces specifically, the genetics guys looked at these DNA markers, the STRs. They show Maltese populations cluster near Sicilians and Southern Italians, so a shared deep history.
Makes sense geographically.
But crucially, they also show some unique genetic drift. That means Malta's isolation also let some distinctly Maltese genetic traits emerge over time. It's a mix of connection and isolation.
It's one thing hearing the data, but another to picture it, right? Imagine walking through Valletta, late afternoon, that golden light hitting the limestone. You'd see that olive skin glowing, maybe freckles catching the light like little stars. You'd smell the pastissi, maybe the sea breeze. Hear Maltese being spoken, that unique blend of Arabic, Italian, English sounds. And visually, you'd see the thick curls, the strong brows, the almond eyes. Noses could be all sorts, aquine, straight, lips full or thinner. And yeah, if you went to a quieter village, maybe saw older families chatting in the square, you might spot someone with fairer hair or lighter eyes, especially where maybe British soldiers or Sicilian merchants married in generations ago.
Or picture the opposite coast, maybe the Northwest. Rugged cliffs, crashing waves, smell of wild herbs.
Yes.
There, maybe you'd see people with deeper skin tones, darker hair, those definite brown eyes. Maybe their expressions look a bit more weathered by the sun and wind. It just shows, doesn't it? Malta doesn't have one look. It's this shifting dynamic thing. It depends on where you are, who you're looking at. It really is a kaleidoscope.
Which brings us back to that really important, maybe sensitive part, the feeling side of it. This idea of looking Maltese, what's seen as authentic. It's a real conversation there. So what does it actually mean for people living there day to day?
Well, it means if you don't quite fit that common stereotype, you might feel a bit invisible sometimes. Or have your identity questioned, maybe subtly. Like someone with very fair skin might get comments, "Oh, you look so Northern European," kind of implying they're not quite the local standard.
I see.
And maybe, sadly, someone with darker skin might get asked, "Where are you really from?" even if their family's roots go back centuries on the island.
Wow. Yeah, that highlights how much weight gets put on those visual cues for belonging.
It really does. Are these just surface questions about looks, or do they tap into something deeper about community, about who belongs?
Seems like they definitely connect to bigger things, right? Identity, belonging, what Maltese even means beyond just, a passport or language.
Exactly. It's about how your heritage is perceived, how it's felt, and how those visual markers play into your sense of place. It sort of pushes against a simple definition of identity, forces a more complex, inclusive view of what being Maltese can look like.
So what really comes through from all the sources you sent isn't one look, but this living mix.
Mhm.
That feels like the right term. The Maltese people aren't just Mediterranean, they're Mediterranean plus,
Uh-huh.
born from this island setting, but shaped by invaders, traders, migrants.
Yeah, fusion.
Their eyes, skin, hair, build it all tells this complex story. We heard height has shot up. Skin tones range from fair to olive. Hair's mostly dark, but not always. Eyes mostly dark, but lighter ones pop up, especially in some places. And faces show variety too, reflecting all those different ancestral threads that got woven together on this small island.
And what's really interesting is that this mixing, this diversification, it's still happening. It's not just ancient history. Think about modern migration people coming from North Africa, Eastern Europe, Asia.
Right, it's ongoing.
So Malta's still a crossroads. Its identity and how its people look, it's not fixed. It's constantly evolving. That tapestry is still being woven right now.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for you. Why do Malta's people look so different?
Well, because it's always been this meeting point, a crossroads. Being a small island meant some traits got preserved, sure, but those constant waves of migration brought new genes, new looks, new influences.
The environment plays a part too.
Yeah, definitely. The Mediterranean sun, the climate, probably diet that affects skin, aging, hair, and maybe most importantly, identity is really tangled up in all this. People see features in their families, they wonder about their origins, they feel pride, they feel belonging through how they look. So Malta's diversity isn't some kind of mistake or anomaly. It is Malta. It's the definition. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, listening. The next time you meet someone Maltese, try not to have a preconceived picture in your head of what they should look like. Instead, maybe just listen to their story. Notice their features: skin, eyes, hair. And remember that every face there is like a chapter in this incredibly rich, long history. Phoenicians, Arabs, Romans, Knights, Sicilians, British, modern migrants, they're all part of the weave. So celebrate that variation, because Malta looks like lots of different things, and all of them are truly profoundly Maltese. That's something to think about, isn't it?